Good afternoon and welcome to the 330 Sports Show. I'm Justin Coffin. Today I literally just looked at my watch and forgot the date already, but it is Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. We are joined by Andrew DiPaolo of WFMJ down here at Youngstown Studio. Joe Danier, he's going to be lingering in the background, we're going to call it. So he's going to be hanging out and he's going to join us on some topics too. But Andrew, thanks for coming down.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And obviously, you just put an announcement out there. You want to share it too?
Yeah, sure. My wife and I are expecting our first child. We're pretty excited, obviously, and baby's due in mid-January. So very excited, and posted a great picture on my social media pages. I know you'll tag me later, but for those listening now, it's just DiPaolo, DiPaolo WX on Instagram, and then Andrew DiPaolo Meteorologist on Facebook.
Awesome.
So you can see that picture there.
So congratulations to you
much.
both, and awesome news. And I know you're used to waking up early and maybe staying up late formally on the weekends and stuff like that. So, but that's very exciting.
I feel like the station has trained me for this moment. So
whether you're ready for it or not,
exactly.
you'll figure it out. So Andrew, we have a lot to discuss. So we're gonna talk some weather movies and stuff like that here in a little bit. But I thought we'd talk some sports. I thought we'd talk some news, stuff like that. So let's talk about, obviously, your main focus, meteorology, but you're also an anchor. So you're reporting on a lot of these interesting news stories that's going on. I think the last time we had you on was virtually when the Browns and Bills were about to play that. And there was that couple feet of snow and they moved the game to Detroit. Now it's actually pretty nice outside today. It's nice outside, but yesterday was weird. The day before was weird. It was like this orange haze. So we know it's Canadian wildfire, but what's going on with that?
All right. So wildfires in eastern Quebec or eastern Canada, northern Quebec rather, have just been going crazy for, I think, the last month or so. And basically what happens is we don't often see wildfires can of course happen anywhere, right? Anywhere there's just a large wooded area, but we don't typically see the impacts from eastern Canadian wildfires because typically it's either Western Canadian or Western United States wildfires that we'll sometimes see a little bit of haze. Sometimes it's the sunrise and sunset pictures that we'll always get when there's that haze, the orange glow. You could perfectly see the sunrise or the sunset. But the air quality isn't typically impacted like it was, especially 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was bad.
That was the worst air quality we've seen in about I think the entire century. So it's been quite some time where we've had air quality impacted here locally like we did. So basically what happens there is, the smoke has to go somewhere, right? And it travels with the jet stream. It travels with the air as it moves around different pressure systems, high pressure, low pressure. So we had low pressure off into the East Coast. We had high pressure off to our west. And they've obviously their winds move in different patterns, the opposite patterns. Areas of low pressure carry their winds counterclockwise, high pressure clockwise. So they're moving in the opposite direction towards us. So that's why we saw kind of all that smoke sandwich down, push into Northeast Ohio, and then later across the mid-Atlantic and the high concentrations that we did. So,
interesting. So you know what that makes me think of, since we're going to our natural disaster movies in a little bit.
Very excited for that.
With those air masses, whatever, saying exactly meeting. I almost feel like that could be a natural disaster movie in itself. Like Canadian wildfire, tornadoes, mixing in a Sharknado here and there. It's almost Shark Week, but so it's just getting weird. But then we have on the East Coast, we're getting like all these crazy floods. Out on the West Coast, I saw in Arizona, like outside of like Phoenix, 100 degrees every day. Or plus.
I believe this is their 19th straight day. They were over 110 degrees, which will be a record for the Phoenix area.
Insane.
So it's just kind of, that time of the year where we see these extremes. And, we talk a lot about climate change. I'm not going to do a deep dive into climate change because I know it's a divisive subject, but climate change can fuel extreme events like this. We have to be very careful when we talk about singular events and calling them climate change. But
climate is a pattern over a long period of time.
That is exactly what it is, and it can help fuel extreme events and make them more common, adding moisture in the air because of warmer waters, aka more flooding, more flash flooding. So in a lot of places that don't see flash flooding, don't have the infrastructure for flash flooding. I mean, think about just on a small scale. I mean, the Bourbon Plaza. I mean, think about, the flash flooding there, homes around Bourbon.
Unfortunately, my basement.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So, I mean, adjusting to infrastructure for stronger floodwaters like that. But yeah, I mean, 100-year floods, 1,000-year floods across New England, pretty extreme stuff, really from coast to coast.
And unfortunately, those 100-year, 1,000-year floods are becoming like every couple years now.
Yeah,
it seems so.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to kind of see moving forward, kind of how we can adapt and how we can build infrastructure around more extreme weather. But certainly interesting. Something we don't like to talk about, but it's part of our job to kind of communicate that in a way that it's a science focus, not a scare focus.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Yeah,
and it's an unfortunate, it's part of life, and you guys have to plan for it and prepare us for it. So one other weather thing I saw, I think it was last week, the Earth for a 4-day period hit like the hottest temperature of all time. Of all time. That's so weird.
Yeah.
So
and half the globe, of course, is in winter.
Right.
So it's just continuing with the extremes across the globe, not just here. Europe is in a heat wave, and it's that time of the year where a lot of people across the northern hemisphere are vacationing, and a lot of people, whether it be from North America or across different parts of Europe, are vacationing to Italy, Spain, places like that, and they don't really maybe know how to adjust themselves to a heat like that.
Sure.
Different people across Italy, Spain, they know how to adjust themselves for maybe like a heat, maybe not like that, but for heat in general. So that was one of the things I saw in a report from NBC today. A lot of officials across, different countries like Italy and Spain, they're worried about the tourists in that area because they can't really adjust to a heat like that. They're on vacation. So they're on vacation.
Right.
They don't want to stay inside and hydrate.
Exactly. Well, and pretty soon I just saw now it's hurricane season. So we're going to be kicking up the Atlantic waters and looking forward to all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that'll be something to watch. It's been a little quiet so far. Kind of had a little uptick at first, but it's been pretty quiet since then. Tropical storm Dawn is kind of floating off in the Atlantic. So that is fine by all the meteorologists. When you can.
Nobody likes Hurricane Dawn.
No.
Get out of here, Dawn. Get the hell out of here.
Right. You can go circle all you want in the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever the E name is next, get out of here.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah.
All right. So you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do
it.
All
right. So let's stick with weather, but this is going to be a fun separate segment. Okay. Joe, if you want to, feel free to jump in. But Andrew and I are going to do a draft, and we're both, I think, fairly prepped for this.
Yeah.
You're just going to go first, and since there's only two of us, we're just going to go back and forth.
You're letting me go first.
I'm going to let you go first.
Right, well, so, I think you can guess what I'm going to guess.
Well,
first.
I think because you gave me a little hint, because we might do a movie breakdown on this in the future. But I'm going to let you go. We're not going to do like a snake draft since there's only two of us. Right. So you're going to have all the odd picks. I'll have all the even picks. So,
so I'm going to go first.
Yep.
Twister. Right off the bat. Picks in. I already locked it in.
All right. So, so Twister, I had Twister as my number 2 natural disaster movie. So I think everybody knows about that. You were just talking Helen Hunt. We're talking Bill Paxton, 96?
Something like that.
Something like that. And they basically are storm chasers. Get out and after
it was the first movie of its kind that really exposed storm chasing and meteorology, and it really kind of inspired a generation of meteorologists to either be storm chasers or just be broadcast meteorologists.
Now, let me ask you this. As a meteorologist, have you ever gone storm chasing?
Yes, I did once right after college. It's a really long drive. It is a grind for a week. You are up at 5-6 a.m. looking at the latest storm prediction center, outlooks.
Sure.
You are you are all over the place. If there is a tornado warning, something going on, something bubbling up, maybe a couple hours south, that's where you're driving. So you could be driving a pretty far distance in one day.
Okay.
And then you're just kind of motels and, going here and going there. And you've got to drive back from Oklahoma.
I was going to say, was this while you were at OU?
This was right after I graduated.
Okay.
Like the week
so
after.
They send you out to Oklahoma? Is that where, or what do you do?
So it was just a group of friends.
Okay.
But Ohio University is now taking students all the way out there to Oklahoma, or really wherever this kind of severe weather setup is.
Okay.
For typically in May, it's going to be the plains, maybe in the Dakotas, somewhere like that.
Now, why is that Midwestern area? Basically, we're not technically in the tornado belt, but we're pretty close.
We're pretty close.
So you basically go from like northern Texas to western or eastern Indiana.
Yeah, so you've got the Rockies, right? You've got the Gulf of Mexico. So you've got kind of the drier air and the colder air that flows over the Rockies. You've got the warmer air and the moist air that is coming in from the Gulf. So there's something called a dry line that will often form in Oklahoma, Texas, southern Kansas, that basically is the separation of those two air masses.
Okay.
Well, the mixture of those two air masses kind of ticks the atmosphere off, and that's why you see a spark of severe weather around there.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. Yeah. So how's the science in Twister? When you disagree with anything that the actors said that might not be accurate?
There might be. It's one of those movies where I'm sure if I really took like a deep dive into it, there might be something that I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. But it's just kind of like one of those, like, there's not many meteorology movies, So I think like even if it was close, most people probably are giving it a pass. Now I know there's a Twister 2 coming out.
There is.
In like 2024.
Yeah.
I don't know if that one will get. I think Twister 1's always going to have the heart of every meteorologist out there. So I don't know how Twister 2 will be received.
That was kind of peak Helen Hunt too. I mean,
And the lady that owns the Atlanta Hawks sports tie-in, owner of the Atlanta Hawks, she was the sex therapist. Married to Bill Paxton.
Okay.
No Bill Paxton.
That's when she's like, we got a cow. Like, flying. Okay. All right. So you're not only getting some movie draft stuff here, you're going to get some knowledge and some science here on this show. So, all right, Andrew goes with Twister for his number one pick. I am going to go with I'm gonna read you the list of the cast, which this cast is unbelievable. Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep, Kate Blanchett, Jonah Hill, Tyler Perry. It was called Don't Look Up. 2021. That was my number one. Fantastic movie. It's hilarious and also like a little bit like, damn, but it's here's the write up for it. Joe knows I'm coming prepared. I'm bringing the 2 low-level astronomers must go on a giant media tour to warn humankind of an approaching comet that will destroy planet Earth. This was a hugely popular movie during COVID, and that's when I watched it. So I'm going with Don't Look Up as my pick here.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so back to you, Andrew.
All right. Well, I think a movie that really kind of it's more apocalyptic-y, but it's kind of back to the extremes in the climate. The Day After Tomorrow.
Very good.
Yeah, Day After Tomorrow, a interesting sci-fi movie that a lot of people joked that a couple of years ago when we got that foot of snow. And I saw all the memes and everything like that. It said The Day After Tomorrow, and it was just the day after was crossed out. It just said tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with my next pick, I'm gonna go with another sort of comet asteroid type movie. I'm gonna go with Armageddon.
Okay, cool.
I think that's just I think that's just like a classic. And I'm not going on accuracy of. I don't think NASA. If an asteroid's coming that close, it's probably over for us. And luckily, nothing's on the radar anytime soon. But I mean, I'd send Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton and whoever else up there to
best soundtrack too. Best soundtrack.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you haven't seen Armageddon, not a spoiler alert, but it's a good one. But the asteroid the size of Texas. So from your knowledge, an asteroid the size of Texas hits the Earth, what happens? We're done.
Probably not great. But there was just that mission that I'm blanking on what it is now, to basically see what would happen if something, like a big a comet, or not comet, but asteroid would be approaching Earth. How what could we do to maybe move it into another kind of gravitational pull? So that was a successful mission by NASA. So,
I guess you could I would probably shoot this is me having no knowledge of
Yeah.
that, but I would probably shoot like some sort of probably nuclear missile at it without humans on it. And it's like, well, it's in space
Right.
junk, whatever. All right, back to you, Andrew.
All
for
right,
your
let's
pick.
do The Perfect Storm. George
Ooh,
Clooney.
good movie.
Blanking on the other actors, but great movie. Yeah.
All right, The Perfect Storm. I got it written down here. So it's Clooney,
Okay.
Wahlberg, John C.
Oh,
Riley from Step Brothers.
John C. Riley's in it. He's in a lot of historical movies too.
Mhm.
Yeah, really good actor.
Really, very wide-ranging
Right.
actor there. So The
Talladega
Perfect
Nights
Storm.
and Perfect Storm.
Yeah, Step Brothers. Don't touch his drum set, and also don't get on that boat with
Right,
them.
right.
All right, I got to go with this one. It's not my favorite movie, but I think it's a classic, and it is a natural disaster movie, even though it's intermeshed in a love story. Got to go with Titanic.
Oh, okay.
Iceberg.
All
I
right.
mean, that's might not have icebergs if this climate change keeps up. Some people on the Republican channel might not like that, but but I'm in the middle. I'm in the
Right,
middle.
right.
By the way, not red or blue, just right down the middle. I'm more purple. So anyway,
I like making fun of everybody.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah.
I say. But,
but yesterday I will say I used the Titanic meme. My wife was waiting for me to get home from work, but I had to stop at Meijer.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, I got here at 4. Ended up getting home at 4:45, even though Meijer is 5 minutes from my house.
Mhm.
So I texted the thing with like the lady with the diamond. I don't know if that was supposed to be Rose when she's older. Remember the old lady with the
Yes.
thing?
Yeah.
And I just texted her that meme and said, it's been 84 years.
Right.
Still wait to get those groceries. So, all right. So halfway through, we
Okay.
got Twister. So here's Andrew so far. Twister, Day After Tomorrow, The Perfect Storm. And
Okay, so I have 3 left.
you got 3
I'm
left.
gonna dig deep on my depth chart here.
Yep.
Netflix 2022.
Okay.
Adam Driver.
Oh,
An
okay.
oddly uncanny movie to the situation in East Palestine, White Noise,
What?
about a train derailment and how a family has to evacuate and kind of how they react. And
Okay.
how kind of humanity reacts to getting out of a situation. And it was also filmed right outside of Salem. Part of it was filmed right outside of Salem.
Weird.
Very, very odd.
You know what? I feel like that's ringing a bell now. I feel
Yeah.
like, did you guys do a story on that?
Yeah,
Like how
yeah.
like weird that was to the East
Yeah,
Palestine thing?
Very uncanny how
That
it was
is
just
super-
a train derailment. And
That's not just a coincidence. That's like a creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy. Yeah. So we're
oddity.
going to go
Wanna
with
do a conspiracy theory
Yes.
show right after this. That'd be great.
Well, I'm not prepared for that one today. And I said no aliens today. I told Joe we got into aliens on Thursday. We're not doing that today. Maybe. We'll see. All right. My next pick. I've only seen this movie once, but I know like my uncles and aunts and even probably my mom when she was younger watched this movie and said it scared the hell out of them. And it's from 1963, Alfred Hitchcock. I'm going with The Birds.
The Birds.
The Birds.
Nice.
So I'm gonna mix it up a little bit now. You think about, you just look outside, you see birds everywhere,
Right.
right? Especially like in the fall when they're roosting and stuff.
Right.
That's weird. Now, if those birds ever could like communicate with, if they were, a little smarter and could communicate,
Yeah.
they could probably take us out if
Yeah.
they wanted to.
Yeah.
So I would say that would be a natural disaster in
right.
my book. So The Birds.
Let's go with Deep Impact.
Yes, that was my next one on my
Mhm.
list.
Gotta go with Deep Impact.
Now, Armageddon and Deep Impact are very similar
Yeah.
movies. I picked Armageddon because I think it's got a little bit more star power. However,
And
I think
the
Deep
soundtrack bumps it up.
I agree.
Major.
100% agree. But I think Deep Impact is a better movie of the
Okay.
two. And what's his name? Morgan Freeman as the
Yeah.
president in that movie.
Yeah.
Epic. Love it.
Mhm.
So, okay. Deep Impact. Solid choice there. This movie, for my next pick, I have 2 more left. I was a little disappointed in it because it had so much hype coming out. We're going on about a decade now, but do you remember conspiracy theories? The Earth was ending in this year. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember what year it was?
Yeah.
It was the same as this movie,
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
So there was all this talk about like the Earth's ending in 2012 and this and that. And I think like there was all these like volcanoes and all these natural disasters. So it was like a conglomeration of everything,
because when I was doing research for this today, I watched the trailer to and they had to get into like a bunker or something. Yes.
And they create spoiler alert, it's 10 years old, so if you haven't seen it yet, you're out of luck. But like I think they basically build an arc. This big arc. So
that's right.
Because the earth floods and like the only continent left is Africa and this and that. So yeah, spoiler alert. So
well, I think I have to end my draft on a funny note.
Okay.
Now this isn't my pick, but there is a movie called Disaster Movie, and it's like with the scary movies. It's probably as cheesy as the scary movies are, but it's called Disaster Movie. That's not my pick. My pick is a cultural phenomena.
Okay.
That is one of the best movies ever made. Sharknado.
It's
a natural phenomenon. Yeah, we got sharks.
We got sharks. We got tornadoes.
We got Sharknadoes.
Now I will say, I'm sure with a water spout, especially, there's got to be some sort of sea animal, whether it's a dolphin, a manatee, fish, whatever, that have gotten sucked up by a water spout and like kind of been thrown about.
I don't know.
There has to be.
I don't know how.
Maybe not attacking humans on land.
I don't know about a manatee or a dolphin. Maybe some lighter fish. I mean, the water spouts, they're pretty on the surface, so they don't go into the water and stuff like that. But maybe even like a seagull or something like that.
Exactly. I will say I was up at a Browns game. It was against the Arizona Cardinals, like maybe 2 years ago, and there was a water spout right on Lake Erie, and I'm talking like this was October, November.
Yeah,
it was just creepy to see. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so. All right, Sharknado.
Sharknado is it.
So I'm going to wrap up
series.
I'm going to wrap up my draft and then I'll review our picks here.
Cool.
So my last one, I'm trying to be diverse here in my picks. I'm going to go just because I'm going to go with another heavy hitter movie.
Okay.
That's very topical from the last couple of years, but I'm going to go with Contagion. With Matt Damon, Kate Winslet, Jude Law, and Gwyneth Paltrow. Now, obviously, very, very COVID related. A lot of contagious diseases, and so I'm going to go with that just because I think that's very topical and it creeped a lot of people out. I think after the fact more so than when it came out.
Right.
So
sure,
yeah. So let me go with a couple more movies that I want to get your opinion and see if these would have made any list. So no, not that one. Sorry. I'm thinking out loud. Greenland. Have you ever heard of that?
Greenland written down. I've never seen it.
Good movie.
Yeah.
Good movie.
But Gerard Butler's in that. And so, yeah, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, this seems cool. So.
Another weird one. And this is like maybe the weirdest actor of all time, but he's good. Nick Cage is in this movie called Knowing.
Oh, now, is that where they write the numbers down?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Now, that is more like I got to look up the plot, but I wrote down the basic of it. He's an MIT professor, and he links a mysterious list of numbers from a time capsule to past and future disasters and sets out to prevent the ultimate catastrophe.
Is that the one where like his son and someone else's daughter like both know these numbers and they're supposed to like recreate the human race on another planet? Is that one?
Maybe.
I think it's that one. I think it's that
one.
And
I think that was the one where I was pointing to. It was a little supernatural and a little weird, but So that makes my honorable mention. And then there's a few more out there that are okay movies. You got The Rock and San Andreas.
I was going to say San Andreas was in there. No, I have Deepwater Horizon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about this one? Do you remember this movie? It's called The Happening with Mark Wahlberg, Zooey Deschanel. He's a science teacher, and like plants basically turn on the human race.
Interesting.
And it's like, so these plants release this toxin, and it makes people like lose their minds and like take each other out and stuff. So yeah. So those were mine. And the other one I had on my list, besides like Volcano and Dante's Peak and stuff like that, was Geostorm, another Gerard Butler movie. But they basically now, and I want to ask you if this is ever a possibility in your opinion. They basically create this technology to control the weather.
Okay.
Do you think that could ever be a thing?
I mean,
we're getting weird. We're getting weird.
I mean, you know, probably not. I mean, you're talking about controlling, you know, air that flows across the globe, and you'd have to control weather patterns. I mean, I don't think so, but yeah, you know.
Now there is, you might know about this better than me, but there is something in Alaska, and it's called HARP. It's like you've heard of this, haven't you?
Sure.
And I believe it's some sort of government entity or government agency. I don't know if it still exists or not, but it used to be a government thing where they tried to manipulate the weather. So for like political and you know, military type purposes.
Yeah, using weather as a weapon.
Yeah, using weather as a weapon. So
no, I've never heard of that.
So I think it's called like, I don't know
if
it's
HAARP.
I think that is. Okay. Yeah. So something to look into, and that would be a good one on the conspiracy theory list.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to a couple other things.
Sure.
So we'll move on from some weather and stuff.
Yep.
Let's talk. And I know this has been a big news story for WFMJ nationally, all over. The Powerball. So I just want to ask a couple randos for both of you.
Okay.
So the Powerball, it's $2. I don't play the lottery. I do gamble from time to time, but I do not play the Powerball. So what I understand, it's $2 to play. If you play every number combination, it's 1 in 292,201,338. That's the white balls and the red. So if you double that, you know, it's in the 580 range or whatever. So the jackpot is 900 million. Now, I think if you take the cash payout, you're going to get less than that. But you're basically guaranteeing yourself a chance to win if you can have the time to get all those numbers and combinations printed out. So what long answer short, what would you do if you won the Powerball? And Joe, I want your answer on this too.
That's a good question. I mean, I think like probably, you know, heavily invest a lot of it, you know, there's well, I mean, there's some things that you can do. It probably would be more conservative. Like there are some things you can do,
smart
like,
thing to do.
You know, like you could still buy a lake house or buy a, you know, property, you know, along a coast somewhere, or buy a nice car. It's just not buying something where you can't afford to continue to pay that.
Exactly.
You know? But
Joseph.
That's a good question. Like you could do so much, and I don't know if I want to go like complete, you know, selfishness here and buy an island and get rid of all people, or I could, you know, buy lots of lottery tickets and I'm gonna double down. I don't know.
I think if I could buy like one massive purchase, I think I would want a private jet with like a pilot that's on call and a, you know, catering and all that stuff on every flight.
Let's say the cash payout's like, I don't know what, let's say it's 400 million. Would that be enough? That wouldn't be enough to, what are the Browns worth?
Yeah, they're over $1 billion.
I was gonna say they're over $1 billion.
Yeah, I would actually think
you could definitely be majority stake, right?
You would be, well, the Haslams just spent $875 million for a 25% stake of the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA.
All right. Well,
so I would guess the Browns, if they were to sell now, the Broncos just sold last year for like 4.6 billion.
Wow.
I would think the Browns are worth at least 3 billion.
Yeah, probably.
I know the 49ers, because local owners are worth over 4. Probably
you
over
could get
5.
an XFL team.
Yeah, I'll get myself an XFL team.
Yeah. I think we could all invest in a minority stake. Hey, and you get to hang out with The Rock. He's the I think they lost a lot of money last year too.
Oh, did they?
The XFL.
Yeah.
I think they were in the red. But
Justin, there's actually a movie about a guy who mathematically figured out the lottery, and he has won the lottery multiple times with his theory. There's a documentary. It's a true story.
Really?
Yep.
Did you ever see that one on the guy that's totally not related, but like the Price is Right documentary, where the guy figured out all the prices and he won like everything? It was pretty cool. But okay, and there's a movie that came out recently with the guy from Breaking Bad. I forget his name.
Yeah.
But you know, Walter White character, and it's like him. Yeah, Bryan Cranston.
Oh, okay.
That's it. And it's him and like Harry and Marge go large or something like that.
Okay.
But they figure out the lottery. It sounds very similar,
Yeah.
and they figure out a way to navigate it and win. So
Interesting.
I would recommend that. Okay, so my advice: if you do win the lottery, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
For sure.
Number
Right.
one rule:
Right.
don't tell anyone. Go into hiding. And like Andrew said, be smart and invest that money. But the best way to invest your money with the lottery is don't freaking play it.
Right.
Somebody has to win, though, I guess. So
Right.
good luck to everybody out there. And remember, I told you good luck if you win. So all right. Let's go. Let's do a couple other things. Andrew's having a baby soon. So in the next couple months, in the beginning of the new year, did you see Philip Rivers?
Yeah, number 10, right?
Philip Rivers just had kid number 10. So he could be the quarterback of his own football team.
Could.
They can play 11 on 11. So
yeah.
That's a lot of kids.
That is so
I have as many kids as you want,
Right.
but 10 is a bit
10's
much.
a lot. Yeah.
But another great meme going around is Billy Madison sitting on the carpet with all the kids, and he's like Philip Rivers.
Oh, nice.
Philip Rivers watching something with his kids. Great. All right, so let's get into the Browns.
Yeah.
Let's get into the Browns. And Joe, I want your opinions on this too. The Browns dropped their brand new look today. Have you seen it?
I saw it. I'm very excited.
So anyone that hasn't seen it or not, we're not going to put it up on screen, but you can go look. The Browns dropped these white helmets and retro uniforms. They are, and I'm not really someone that's like huge into uniforms and stuff.
They're sharp.
They are very
really
nice looking.
Yeah.
And the helmet is a big issue of contention for a lot of people.
Why?
I don't know.
Huh.
I think the Browns fans, especially the traditionalists, like that like classic gritty blue collar, it's like orange,
helmet,
brown, white, boring, which is fine because I do like the simplistic uniforms.
Yeah.
Those ones they wore previous to these ones were pretty bad. They look like just bad Bowling Green type uniforms.
The brown ones with the bold orange.
With like
color rush. Yeah.
Oh, those ones are fine. I didn't mind the
all right.
all brown. I like those, but like the ones like the Dante Whitner Browns, where it had like Cleveland on the pants real big.
Gotcha. Okay.
I wasn't a fan of that. I do like the all brown color rush ones though. So I think that's going to be.
I don't understand
nice
the
look.
partnership with Dude Wipes. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's like an unnecessary product placement. Like, brought to you by Dude Wipes. Why?
That was very
Why?
interesting.
I don't know why that's brought to you by Dude Wipes.
Because like that was kind of weird. Like the guy cleaning the helmet, he's like, it's orange.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know why an NFL team needs to have Dude Wipes as a.
I thought I was looking at a joke one. I didn't realize that they were
it was
it's what?
It's actually their sponsor. That is sponsored. I don't know. Like Dude Wipes is a decently big company. They're gaining a lot of steam. But you're an NFL franchise,
right?
I don't understand why you needed to partner with.
Like
Dude Wipes.
Is it like Sherwin-Williams or something? Like is in Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Sherwin-Williams. Hey, let's paint,
that's a good
paint
idea.
the helmet white.
Paint the helmet white.
So
that's a good idea.
I mean, look at. The Browns' value just went up to $4.2 billion just based on the ideas Andrew and I are throwing out here. So, okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of the Cleveland Browns a little bit. Now, I saw something recently that was very, very positive, which it had NFL team executives and like general managers. It actually had Deshaun Watson as the 4th ranked quarterback in all the NFL based on those. Now, if you go look at the national pundits, the talking heads and stuff, most of them don't even have him in the top 10 to 15 because of the 6 games last year.
Right.
But I think more so because of the off the field stuff.
Sure.
So do you and Joe, you guys can talk this out. Do you think there is a bias from the national media on the Cleveland Browns because of all the off the field stuff with Watson?
So I'll say this, and this is a hot take. I think more so there is a bias for the Cleveland Browns and Deshaun Watson over his contract than the off field things. You're dealing with a lot of billionaires. I don't think they care much about. I don't think they care. A lot of people care.
Yeah,
a lot
right.
of people do care.
Right.
Us, people out there, normal fans care about the off the field stuff with Deshaun Watson.
Sure.
A bunch of billionaires, they care about money. And I think they care. I think they're a little jealous and a little envious about the contract.
Yeah.
And I think that's where maybe the bias comes.
Okay.
Rather than the off the field. I think they might use the off the field stuff.
Sure.
As a way to say maybe mask their money greed, but that's just me. That might be a little bit of a hot take, but yeah.
I'm thinking his last year's performance did him in.
Yeah.
If he would have came, responded, and the talent was on the field, that would be a different story. He'd be ranked up there this year for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think it is a little worrisome that he went out there and it didn't do so hot, but we'll have to see.
It's interesting,
hold our
though,
breath and see what happens this year.
Three of us who are three big Browns fans have three different opinions.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a national media bias.
Okay.
Because of the off the field stuff. No one wants to get on. Everyone wants to grandstand or, no one is encouraging poor behavior.
Right.
And being negative towards women or anything like
Sure.
that. But it doesn't mean you can't root for the guy as a quarterback or think, hey, this guy's supremely talented.
Yeah.
Was the number one passer in the NFL 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Sat out, and then he sat out for 700 days. So there is a huge learning curve that you have to get back to. But natural talent usually wins out.
All four things: big money maker, poor performance coming out of the gate.
Yep.
Off-field stuff.
Nope.
Browns just historically destroying talent once they get on their field.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah. And I don't want to be training camp guy, but I mean he did look like in the videos I saw in mini camps, he looked like he was throwing the ball with a little more fun.
Oh yeah.
He looked like he was throwing it a little bit easier. And he was having a little more fun with it. But I know a lot of people, friends of mine, people I ran into, there was such a kind of distinction they wanted to make between going, yes, I understand he's the quarterback of my favorite football team, but his off the field stuff was, not right.
Yeah.
And it was going to take a lot of time for people to really digest kind of everything that was going on, including rooting for him.
Exactly.
I was one of those people that I was like, it's going to take a little bit of time to really kind of digest everything off the field with him. But I think everybody deserves a second chance.
Yep.
Michael Vick, same exact thing. Not associating them, but just associating the fact that he had a second chance.
Yep.
So
and there's a lot of people in the NFL, if we want to get into a moral righteousness standpoint,
we could be here
that
all
it's
day.
like, it's going to be pretty ugly. And again, just because you're rooting for this team does not make you like, and
I think that's the big thing. You can still root for this team, right?
Yeah.
You can still root for this team. It's a similar thing when the Indians went to the Guardians. A lot of people were no, absolutely not. You can root for the players that are playing on that field for Cleveland.
Yep.
As I think you should. You may disagree with the name change, but you should still root for those players because they're still maybe not. Well, I think this year we'll get into that, but they typically work their butts off for the team, and I think that's really who you should be rooting for.
And at the end of the day, you're rooting for Cleveland,
right?
You're rooting for the city, you're rooting for the team that maybe you grew up loving, maybe you recently jumped on the bandwagon, which the Browns fans lately probably haven't had many bandwagon fans.
I'd be interested to hear why a person jumped on the Browns.
I don't think that might have been the first time that was ever uttered since 1990. So
it's the freaking dude wipes.
right. It's the dude wipes. Yeah.
Oh, but actually, Jenny, that's my mom. Dude wipes was a Mark Cuban Shark Tank item. I did not know that. So very interesting. Yeah. So okay, the Browns. One other thing I want to point out, because you said like the owners, billionaires, stuff like that. So the Haslams obviously own all Pilot, right? Pilot, Flying J.
Yep.
They own that. So there's billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars within that. A lot of owners are basically strapped for cash because a lot of their money is tied up with these NFL franchises. But when you sign a big contract like that, like Lamar Jackson just did, like Kyler Murray, like whoever, you want to throw in there, they have to put that money in escrow.
Yeah.
And there's a big portion of that. So they have to actually physically write a check, put it in escrow to like placehold that contract for a lot of these players. And a lot of those owners can't afford to do it, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
You know, like the Denver Broncos, they're always going to be able to do it. They got Walmart money.
Yeah.
You know, the Browns have, you know, their money, the 49ers, like all that stuff. They have all these other investments, but certain owners will be cash strapped. And that's where you see these minority owners maybe coming in and stuff. So like you guys said, when the Powerball maybe become a minority owner and we'll jump right in there. We can help out the Ravens and whatnot. So maybe not the Ravens. Maybe not the Ravens. But hey, you want to make money, the NFL is a money factory. So what else about the Browns should we talk about? 4 days till training camp starts, which is insane.
I think the biggest off-season get for the Browns was Jim Schwartz. Wasn't a player. I think it's the defensive coordinator, because look at the attitude. Look at the what word am I looking for? The kind of atmosphere of that locker room.
Yes.
Especially on the defensive side, in those specific position rooms. There wasn't a lot of leadership, you know, especially between I'm blanking on his name now, the defensive coordinator they just fired last year. Joe Woods. And Mike Prefer. There didn't seem to be a lot of accountability.
Great word. Perfect word for it.
I think the Browns brought a guy in that if even Kevin Stefanski doesn't want to, I think Kevin Stefanski needs to know Jim Schwartz coming in was them telling him, hey, listen, you're on a short leash. Yeah. We got a guy who can fill in and be a head coach. And it's going to be a guy who's going to really take on a leadership role. So it's a win-win for them, because he's going to be a leadership role on the defensive side. And he could, hopefully not, but could be that role in a head coaching position should everything kind of go south by the middle of the season for the Browns.
Yeah, and hopefully that is not the case. But I think that is an excellent point, because this team, and when you heard all the Jadeveon Clowney stuff that came out, like
which I think the Browns did the right thing, and I was very happy. What they just sit home, you're done. You know, that's the type of attitude and that's the type of environment that they really need to start establishing.
How dare you put Myles Garrett, the best defensive pass rusher, in a better situation than me? Is basically he was throwing a temper tantrum and he's like, I'm only playing on third down when it's obvious passing situations, and no one took that serious until the last week of the season. And look where it got this team. So I think what you just said about Jim Schwartz, he's not going to play those games. Greg Newsome, hey, if you're playing in the slot, if you're playing outside, you're playing. You're doing what's best for this team, and we're going to put you in the best situation possible. So well done. And I don't care if it's a high school kid, a middle school kid, or a pro athlete or a college athlete. Good athletes want to be held accountable. They want consistency. And at the end of the day, if you have those like prima donnas and stuff, like, let them walk.
Set the tone, set the environment. I mean, if you look at a successful NFL franchise, I mean, look at the Steelers, look at the Patriots. I mean, look at their environment in a locker room. Yes, sure, they've had their divas, but their divas are 1 in a million. You know, most of everybody else is held to an accountability, held to a certain standard of accountability, and the environment is a team environment.
No doubt.
You know, for a lot of those successful franchises.
100%. All right, so the Browns, look pretty solid from 1 to 53. Really do. They're, for the first time in a long time, I was looking at the roster and I'm like, I was trying to make out a 53-man roster. And I'm like, I could get to 60, but like 7 guys have to get cut somewhere. And I don't know who it's going to be. So do you think there might be any surprise cuts for maybe some of the players we've come to know?
I think Anthony Schwartz's days are probably pretty numbered.
Joe is not sad about that.
I think Anthony Schwartz's days are pretty numbered. But I mean, look at the wide receivers that they brought in too. I mean, Marquise Goodwin. I mean, will he make the 53-man roster? You know, he's
I think he's your Schwartz replacement.
He could be. Yeah, he could be. I mean, you're bringing guys like that in that are, 1-2 year deals max at the end of their contracts to challenge these other dudes. We'll see how David Bell does this year. That'll be really interesting. And then they picked up Cedric Tillman. We'll see how Cedric Tillman could be a big surprise out of Tennessee. I saw him catching some really good balls. And then I wonder if Elijah Moore is going to be what Jarvis Landry should have been.
Yes. a more explosive Jarvis Landry. And everybody loved Jarvis Landry. He's probably my favorite player since the Browns have come back.
And that's the wide receiver. And I thought they drafted really, really well. I wrote those draft picks down. Wide receiver, D tackle, O tackle, defensive end, quarterback, cornerback, center. That is just depth. That screams depth. And I think that's what they needed to do. I think they nailed it on the head, nailed the offseason on the head with the Jim Schwartz pickup. That was outstanding. The special teams guy was from the Colts, right?
Yes.
And he's a Northeast Ohio native. Am I wrong?
Well, he used to. I'm not sure where he's from. I know he used to play for the Browns.
He played for the Browns.
That was Bubba Ventrone.
Yeah.
And he actually played for Belichick and I believe coached with Belichick too.
I mean, you're not going to mess with a guy named Bubba.
No.
Bubba
Ventrone. There is not more of a football name than that. So, but I couldn't agree with you more. And the coaching hires are huge, huge, because this team was lacking. And like, I know Stefanski, tough, smart, accountable. That was one of their big mottos. And okay, maybe they were tough. They weren't the smartest at times last year and definitely not accountable. So maybe you check those 3 boxes this year and you have a team that's ready to go. Like we're not wasting any more time of Nick Chubb's career, of Denzel Ward, of Myles Garrett, of all these other guys that they're paying big time money to.
And the big surprise too go ahead.
And I was thinking, like, the thing that's going to make it hard this year is like the linebackers and the offensive line were such a struggle last year. So you're going to have depth there, and then you have all of these offensive tools that you're going to have to cut because you need depth on those 2 areas.
Yeah, I was looking, and the offensive line last year, I think, was more injury than anything. And the linebacker, same thing last year, because, I mean, you got JOK, who is awesome when he's on the field, but he is in and out of the lineup. You had Walker, who got hurt. You lost Talkie. You lost, there was one other guy we lost, Jacob Phillips, I believe.
I thought they re-signed Talkie.
Yeah, they did. But like all those guys at some point were hurt, last year in and out of the lineup. And they were a big struggle because the Browns had the worst defensive tackles in the league last year. And they have really addressed that with Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith, and like building depth. That kid they drafted, Ika, in the 2nd or 3rd round out of Baylor. It's a big body. And like really those guys are a linebacker's best friend because you're sucking up the double teams. You're sucking up those big offensive linemen and letting the linebackers just go play.
I was laughing. ESPN's coverage of the draft when they drafted him. They're like, one of his cons is he really can't move well. I'm like, he doesn't need to move. Well. He needs to stand up. That's all he needs to do. He doesn't need to move at all. Just stand up. The guy's gonna run it right at you.
Ground. That's it.
That's your purpose.
I think the Browns, their strength really is right up the middle. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. One of the best. You could argue one of the best defensive lines in the league. Again, it's on paper. We have to see it.
They got
enough of these like 7 and 10 and 8 and 9 seasons. We need to go out and win. And now, the first 4 games of the year, they have a bye week, week 5 this year.
Okay.
The first 4 weeks.
Boy, if they go 0-4, oh man, I'll just shut my TV
Well, if they go 0-4,
oh boy, we're it's gonna be a long rest.
I will say ideal. You split 2 and 2. Great would be 3 and 1. I think you got
to at least split them.
I think you have to split because a lot of them are doubled up because you're playing all 3 division opponents. So you have the Bengals week 1, at the Steelers week 2, Titans week 3, who the Titans always play hard. And then
picked up the
Ravens.
Hopkins,
exactly. So out of those 4 games, I think you got to go 2 and 2 minimum. Can't go 1 and 3. You obviously can't go 0-4. But
you got the Bengals on Monday Night Football, and we saw what happened last year.
Steelers on Monday Night Football.
I'm sorry, Steelers on Monday Night Football. Bengals to open. But we saw what happened with the Bengals. I mean, they always split the Bengals, Ravens, and now they're beginning to split the Steelers. So they're going 50-50 in their division. But that is so streaky because what was the outcome of the game they played at Cincinnati? Was it a whooping on Cincinnati's part? They'd won. I know that.
That was the second game Watson came back and he struggled in that game, but it was pretty close.
Okay.
It was pretty, I think it was
just destroyed them when they came to Cleveland. That was just and it was same with the Ravens. The Ravens are going to be interesting because they came real close. They beat them the one time. They came close to beating them the second time. So they might be turning a tide with the Ravens. We'll see how Lamar Jackson does. So
I think if you look up and down the rosters, the Bengals, you probably have to put them number one because of the quarterback, wide receiver, and they've shown it. They've done it.
Right.
So I think you got to give the Bengals the benefit of the doubt now. I think their win total was 11.5. I did take the under on their win total.
Okay.
I think they're going to go 11-6.
Okay.
I do have the Browns finishing in second, and based on the bets, it was I got them at 9. I saw it's up to 9.5 now.
Okay.
So I took the over on 9, and I have the Browns going 10-7.
Yeah.
If the Browns go 10-7, I think they're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think they fight for it. And I really think if they can split those division games, go 3-3, I think the schedule's set up for them to, I think floor is 8 wins for this team.
Yeah.
I think things would have to go perfectly. I think ceiling is 12.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that 10-11 is kind of right in the middle there where I think the Browns could finish. So I'm going to say 10-7.
Yeah. I mean, it's an off season where you addressed literally everything you were having problems with. Leadership, filling holes, depth, getting a couple of star players, adding some draft picks. There's really no excuse.
No.
There's really nothing else you need other than more talent.
Right.
But I mean, you have a lot of talent. You have a lot of talent. I mean, between, Njoku, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore now. I mean, there's a tight end and 3 wide receivers. And then you got Cedric Tillman who could be there. And I'm
Goodwin, who you mentioned.
Yeah. So you got the tight ends, you've got Nick Chubb, and they're going to be using the dude out of Cincinnati more. Who they
Jerome Ford.
Ford. It's crazy. It's not surprising. Is it surprising to you that Kareem Hunt hasn't been picked up yet?
I think the running back position is so interesting. I saw a stat yesterday where it said if you average out all the kicker salaries and all the running back salaries, kickers actually make more than running backs right now.
That's insane.
Insane.
That is insane.
Insane. So it's like 2.1 million for kickers, 1.8 million for running backs, which is, it shows you I mean,
pass heavy.
It's pass heavy, and there's just not a premium on it because the longevity of their career is. But I think that's one more position they might need to go after, like that McKinnon or someone like that from the Chiefs, who's still a free agent as well. Try to get him on like a veteran minimum. Could be your third down back, stuff like that. So we shall see. Any other Browns notes maybe that you can think of, like heading into the season?
No, I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting season. I think I think every year we're always excited and it's like, oh, this is going to be the year. But I mean, I think that if this isn't the year that they at least make the playoffs again, the only thing I can think of is Kevin Stefanski wasn't your coach. That's the only thing I can think of, because you have enough talent. People have won Super Bowls with far less talent. I mean, let alone get into the playoffs. And we've gotten into the playoffs with Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've got a superior upgrade to Baker Mayfield, although I think he did play great that season. But but you've got your talent there. If it doesn't work out, you just have to draw back to the leadership, and that's it.
The thing that scares me, like, one, I will say I'll put one pro, one con out there. The pro is I think the Browns play better when they're not expected to do as well.
Yeah.
I think that's one good thing. When they have the hype coming in, like the Freddie Kitchens year and like the year after they made the playoffs in 2021, they struggled both of those years. 2020, no one expected much to go out and play well. Now, the con, I will say, is you look at that AFC, it is scary. The Chiefs, Super Bowl champs. The Bills are really good. The Bengals are really good. The Ravens, we think, are good.
The Jaguars are going to be decent this year.
I mean, you could probably say, and I'm just thinking out loud here, 9 of the top 12 teams in the NFL are in the AFC.
Yeah. It's going to be, how many teams they take? 8, right?
They take 7.
They take 7. They take 7. Yeah, it's going to be a scrap probably for that wild card. And it would take kind of a colossal breakdown from the Bengals to lose that division. Maybe not colossal, but it would take a misstep or two. You're going to have to fight with the Dolphins and teams like that are on the bubble.
Let's go through this real quick right now. So I'm gonna say I'm just gonna go through in my mind. So if I forget anybody, tell me. Let's go through all the AFC teams, and you just say better or worse.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So let's start in the AFC East.
I'm gonna bring it up here. I'm gonna bring it up on the
Buffalo.
Okay. I think they're worse than Buffalo.
Okay.
Right now.
All right. Miami.
I think they can be better than Miami. It's close, but I think they can be better than Miami.
New York Jets.
Better.
New England Patriots.
I think better.
Okay.
Better. Yeah, right. I think better.
Before we go to our own division, let's go to the AFC West.
Okay.
Kansas City.
Definitely worse.
LA Chargers.
That's a toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a good team, but I think it can go either way, and we'll say better.
Denver Broncos.
Definitely better.
Vegas Raiders.
Better.
Okay. AFC South.
Yeah.
Jacksonville. That's tough. That's.
Jacksonville really impressed me in their almost beating the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'll say worse, but not by much.
Okay.
It could have gone. It was a toss-up between the Chargers, and I'll split those two. I'll say worse than the Jags, better than the Chargers.
Tennessee Titans.
They've got the coaching that might give them the edge. They just picked up DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see how he does. We'll go slightly worse, but it's real
interesting.
Close. Yeah.
Okay. Indianapolis Colts.
Better.
And Houston Texans, I think.
Better.
Okay. All right. So now our division. Cincinnati.
I think what Cincinnati has in place, definitely worse. They need to prove that they're better than Cincinnati again to, get above that hump. But I think right now they can definitely compete with them. They obviously do, but definitely worse.
Baltimore.
I think they're better than Baltimore.
I think so too.
I think
I think the roster is way better than Baltimore.
I just don't like Baltimore, and I really don't. The coaching is there, but
you don't like the crab cakes.
the city,
the city,
the
Orioles.
The Orioles are terrible.
No, I'm just
they're good.
Steelers.
I think I think we're better roster wise, but you know what? I've seen games where the Steelers have dug themselves out of that playoff game where we beat them. I was just like, nope, they're going to come back somehow. And they're that type of team all the time. So I can never, ever count them out. I think they're, I think we're slightly better.
I'm going to throw a hot take out there. If Ryan Day ever leaves Ohio State, I think the Browns go after Mike Tomlin.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think Mike Tomlin, this is just me.
That's interesting.
Right now, if I could pick any coach in the league, I pick Mike Tomlin. I don't like the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he is a leader of grown-ass men, and he knows how to get – he's never had a losing season.
No.
Ever.
No.
And people
His
know –
team wasn't very good last year.
No.
His team wasn't very good last year.
No.
He got them to a winning season.
He literally – I think it was like between the Jets and the Dolphins, if the Dolphins win that game or the Jets win that game – Steelers go to the playoffs.
Yeah,
and no one thought they were going to be good.
Their way, and it's just kind of miraculous how they can kind of dig themselves out of just they're very Phoenix-like where they rise from the ashes, and you think they're just dead, and all of a sudden you hear a heartbeat, and you just don't know how they figured it out.
So based on what we talked about, it sounds, and I didn't write them down as we were going, but it sounds like probably have the Browns in that 5 to 7 range of teams in the AFC. But if you get into the dance, you got a chance.
Chargers were 5th. I think last year, I think it's the top 4 again, repeats for this year. Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati. I think Jacksonville wins the AFC South. I think that's a pretty miserable.
So that gives you 3 spots.
That gives you 3 spots. Last year it was the Chargers, Baltimore, and Miami. But then you had Pittsburgh, New England, New Jersey, and Tennessee all ahead of you. Man, it's going to be.
Who's New Jersey, by the way? Fighting Sopranos?
New
England. Or New York Jets.
The Jets. Sorry. Yeah, I saw NJ. They do play in New Jersey.
I'm just messing with you.
But look at I think New England could probably flip with the Browns this year. I think probably 13 to 16 probably stays the same.
Yeah.
And then you have kind of that middle class there. I think Pittsburgh is probably going to stay the same, probably a 9 and 8. So you're looking at them probably a 10 to 12. I think New York is probably going to stay in that 10 to 12. Tennessee could get a bump. Miami might go to 5 or 6, and then who knows with Baltimore? I mean, You know, if the Browns sweep Baltimore, you know, there's that bump over them. You know, it's a lot of it's tiebreakers too. It's a game or two.
And like, you know, we're just talking, you know, hypothetically here, but I think we all think the Browns are going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
But I think you look at that AFC North, you could probably say that's the best division of football.
I think it's up there.
I think if you have I'm going to just say hypothetically, I think I have the Bengals winning 11, the Browns winning 10, Baltimore winning 9, the Steelers winning 8.
Yeah.
So I bet if you
unless you have the AFC East, unless you want to argue the AFC East, because that's going to be a filthy division.
Yeah.
AFC West, the top two will be, I think it'll be Kansas City and the Chargers, not close to them, but comfortably second.
No doubt.
And then the bottom two are the bottom two. NFC East, you know,
NFC East maybe has one of the best teams in football in it, but you know, with the Eagles, but
could the NFC South be the worst team in football this year?
Probably.
Yeah. Between the AFC South and the NFC South, they might be the worst divisions in football.
I think the Saints could be a sleeper team there, but here's my betting tips for you. Just not for you, for everybody.
Yeah.
And don't bet the mortgage, but bet what you feel comfortable. Bet the unders in the AFC, bet the overs in the NFC.
I think that's a really good bet. I think that's really good advice.
And, you know, just from a global perspective, obviously individual teams are going to go over or under their numbers, but just my betting knowledge there.
Okay.
So Andrew, we're going to close out here, but remind people where they can follow you and all that stuff.
Yeah. So just head to my Twitter at Andrew WFMJ. That's the easiest one. Go ahead and follow me on Facebook, Andrew DiPaolo Meteorologist. You can find that, use that spelling, and then it's DiPaolo WX on Instagram. Follow WFMJ, download our 21 WFMJ app, our Storm Tracker 21 app. We've got some potential storms on the way for Thursday, so that's going to be a good app to download.
Maybe a Sharknado heading our way.
Sharknado heading our way. You never know. Yeah, that's about it. So thanks for having me, man.
Oh, absolutely. And let's have you back before sometime during the season.
Yes.
And before baby is born, before you get a little less sleep.
Yeah.
Let me remind everybody of our movie draft picks one more time before we go. Andrew took Twister, The Day After Tomorrow, The Perfect Storm, White Noise, Deep Impact, and Sharknado. I took Don't Look Up, Armageddon, Titanic, The Birds, 2012, and Contagion. So
I think taking Sharknado is like taking a kicker in the second half.
Hey, it's
but you gotta take it.
It's there.
You gotta take it.
It's there and it's fun. Why not? Why not? So everybody out there, we appreciate you watching. We're gonna have 2 more YSU Lady Penguins on Thursday's show. So check that out. And again, make sure you follow Youngstown Studio and the 330 Sports Show. We appreciate you guys watching, and everybody have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. If you like our programming, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow our Facebook page, or subscribe to your favorite podcast platform like iTunes or Spotify. This is original Youngstown